All right, welcome to our deep dive into process design. This is one of the most foundational courses in chemical engineering because it's where we figure out how to take a brilliant idea from a lab and turn it into a real full-scale industrial process. So, here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with the big picture. What do chemical engineers actually do? Then we're going to zoom right in on the blueprint for all their work. That's process design. We'll break down the four key stages, see how you're going to put it all into practice yourself, and finally, we'll connect all the dots to show you why this is so critical for your future career. Okay, let's dive right in. To really get a handle on process design, you first have to understand the fundamental job of a chemical engineer. And it all comes down to one word: transformation. I mean, just look around you. The fuel in our cars, the chemicals that make up our phones, life-saving medicines, even the food we eat. Chemical engineers are the masterminds behind the scenes, figuring out how to turn basic raw materials into all these incredibly useful products we depend on every single day. So that's got to make you wonder, right? How do we actually get from a raw material, like, say, natural gas, to a finished product like methanol? What's the secret sauce that takes a reaction that works in a tiny little lab beaker and scales it up to a massive functioning chemical plant? Well, the answer lies in the discipline that is right at the very heart of chemical engineering: process design. This is the crucial step where a scientific idea starts to actually look like a real industrial reality. Think of it like the master blueprint for production. Process design is where you lay out the entire plan and figure out all the critical questions before a single piece of steel gets ordered or foundation is ever poured. It's all about planning on paper to make sure you succeed in the real world. Now, this is absolutely huge, and it shows how much engineering has evolved. It's not enough anymore for a process to just work. Today, every single design has to satisfy what we call the triple bottom line. It has to be safe for everyone, it has to be profitable, and it has to be environmentally sustainable. These aren't just suggestions, they are the non-negotiable pillars of any modern design. And this right here, this clears up something that trips a lot of people up. What's the difference between process design and plant design? Well, it's pretty simple. Process design is the conceptual blueprint. It's the how of the chemistry. Plant design is the physical construction. It's the build of the factory itself, dealing with stuff like equipment size and layout. You can't have one without the other, but process design always comes first. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. How does this actually work? Let's walk through the distinct stages that take an idea from just a concept to a fully formed process. It's not random. There's a really logical flow to it. First, you pick the best technology out there. Then you put together the sequence of steps: the reaction, the separation, all of it. After that, you develop really detailed flow diagrams, calculating exactly what goes in and what comes out. And finally, you wrap the whole thing in control and safety systems to make sure it runs smoothly and, most importantly, safely. So, you've seen the theory. How are you actually going to get your hands dirty with this stuff? Well, that's exactly where the mini design project comes in. This right here, this is your mission for the course. Your challenge is to design a conceptual plant that makes methanol. But there's a modern twist. It has to be sustainable, using alternative sources of carbon. Think biomass or even captured CO2. So in your groups, you're basically going to become a process engineering team. You'll have to evaluate different technologies, choose your production route, figure out the major equipment, and design safety strategies. You're going to be making the kinds of critical decisions real engineers make every day. And don't worry, we're not just going to throw you into the deep end. The project is broken down into 3 really clear milestones. And if you look closely, they actually mirror the design stages we just talked about. It's a structure that's going to guide you step by step through the whole process. Okay, let's talk about the why. Why does all of this matter so much? Because believe me, completing this project is about way more than just passing a course. It's about building the core skills that are going to define you as a professional engineer. I mean, just look at this list: problem solving, critical thinking, teamwork. These are not just buzzwords you slap on a resume. These are the essential abilities that companies all over the chemical industry are actively looking for right now. And here's the really crucial part. Think of this course as your training ground. The skills and the deep understanding you build here in process design are the absolute foundation you're going to need to knock the big plant design project out of the park in your final year. When you get right down to it, this course is where you stop just, learning about chemical engineering principles, and you actually start thinking like a process engineer. It's all about pulling together everything you know to turn science into practical, safe, and sustainable solutions for real-world problems. So, as you kick off this whole journey, the real question isn't just about what you're going to learn. It's about what you're one day going to create with all this knowledge. The problems are out there, and process design is the tool you'll use to solve them. So, what are you going to tackle first?